Get Jinx. My question is, how come for a late game champion, Tristana is so perfect for early and super safe without flash with the jump range, and that is why Jinx is better. So here's the story. Here is the depressing story of Tristana from my perspective. Once upon a time, Tristana was a unique character. She had a power curve. That's how we actually balanced her. She was strong early, for levels like 1 through 6. And then she was incredibly weak, levels like 6 through 16. And then late game, she became this unassailable monster. And to me, that was actually a pretty cool and compelling champion. It was like, okay, she has some chance to succeed because of her early game, but then she's going to have this incredible mid-game lull, but eventually she's going to turn on and beat everybody up. So watch out, Tristana's coming for you. Then, at about the time that AD carries started buying Bloodthirster and stuff, we nerfed them all, and then Tristana came into the thing, and she didn't have this power curve anymore. And suddenly we decided that we didn't like unassailable late-game characters. That wasn't okay to be in the game. You couldn't be in the game if you had an unassailable late game. And so, we reworked Tristana, because she was bad and toxic for League of Legends. And we made her into this character who supposedly was about resetting your jumps and trying to like go hard on the single target and spike your E and yada yada yada. I think the problem we ran into is, one, we just made her better than Jinx or worse than Jinx at any time because we made their roles clash together really hard because they both became about taking towers. And two, we basically just said, okay, well, Tristana is going to be this AD carry with like this kind of like flat power curve throughout the game. But we never actually did anything about her kit. Like, we didn't do anything to actually say, like, Tristana as a character uses rocket jump to jump around, because at the end of the day, the character with that passive is just going to be a late-game hypercarry. And so she ended up in this spot where she's either completely awful because she does nothing, because all she does is auto-attack, or she's just completely oppressive, because if she's good enough at auto-attacking, she's just super safe, and just has this, like, kind of, like, just consistent power throughout the entire game. And then we've done tons of stuff to try to make her feel better, but it never actually works. The only thing that makes Tristana feel better is power. So, I don't know. I think she needs another rework or a revert. I think Old Tristana was better for our game and more interesting. Basically, the TLDR, because I just kind of like went off on random tangents there, is I think Tristana, the new Tristana, the issue she has is that she's a character who's just kind of average all the time. And so she's either too good at auto-attacking or too bad at auto-attacking. There's nothing really about her identity that makes her special, except I guess right now she's just better than Jinx. But if she's better than Jinx, that's a problem because she's safer than Jinx. Yeah, like, Kog and Twitch, like, they're kind of BS. Like, I'm not going to say they're not BS champions, but, like, you can win against those characters. Like, they can make mistakes, you can pull them and stuff. The issue with Tristana is that she's just kind of like... You're always on the back foot if you're fighting a Tristana. It's just hopefully she can't kill you before your team gets an advantage she can't overcome, if that makes sense. And then now she's also just good at things like taking towers. Taking towers really fast. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of what we did to Tristana. I thought she was in a better spot game health-wise and a more unique spot when we focused on tuning her power curve. That's very nostalgic though, and I could be very wrong about that, because that was years ago. The game was very different. I just know that right now, Tristana fluctuates from most played... Recently, she is most played by everybody AD carry, and then she fluctuated from never played at all, right? Like, which to me indicates that, like, she is basically, you're playing her because you want power. Even characters who tend to be, like, fun, they get played a lot even if... fun at their core, that is. They get played a lot even if they're not overpowered, whereas Tristana feels like she only gets played and when she is overpowered, and when she is overpowered, she gets played way, way, way too much. Trist pays a lot for that jump spell. She does pay a lot for the jump spell. I'm worried that she doesn't pay in the right ways. Like, I don't know. Here's an example of something that I think is wrong with Tristana. I don't think her jump should reset off of the E. it's cool that it does, but like it just makes her more safe. It could reset off at the E, but then I think she shouldn't have her passive, because why does this character who's encouraged to jump into the fight and blow people up and knock people around has 650 range, right? Like it's just like there's a lot of things about her that seem like mixed on the wrong kit. It's like that's the other thing about the rework. It's like we had all these awesome goals for Tristana, but we never actually took the required steps of replacing the passive. Until you replace that passive, there's a lot of things you can't do with Tristana.
So before I can properly describe to you the Tristana problem, even as an AD carry player, at least in the pro play scene, I have to describe to you the Hypercarry problem, or at least what didn't used to be a problem when it came to dealing with hypercarries, and that was the early game. It used to be that these champions were a time bomb that would be very annoying and borderline hated to play against if they got on the other side of 40 minutes, got their items, got in their power spike, like most champions when they get in their power spike, mind you, like assassins, like burst mages in the mid game, or like scaling mages in the late game, like early game divers and fighters and junglers. Like different classes of champions have always had power spikes that have also been super annoying. But the differences with a lot of those champions, at least right now, is they do have a window of weakness or counterplay where you can try and shut them down and make them irrelevant. With hypercarries, that used to be about from minute 0 to minute 30, and it's just kind of not there right now, which is part of the problem. Jinx might be the one exception right now in the professional scene, because her weaknesses are still there enough that they say it's too risky to play her. So she actually, oddly enough, a lot of people consider her weak right now because the meta favors her and she's still not good enough to be played. Ironically, if you will, it's because she might actually be the one balanced hypercarry right now. The one time we have seen her at Worlds right now, her weaknesses were glaring. They were very obvious, and it made it show why, even in the meta benefiting her, she's actually not that great right now, which is kind of weird because in solo queue, they can't buff her in professional play because she'd take over solo queue. The difference is, and we'll get to Tristana in a second, but I want to first go over like Twitch and kog'maw as well, because they're a little bit in the Jinx category, but also more so in the Tristana category, right? They're disgusting, but their problem is their laning phase isn't as bad if the Ardent Sensor supports get through. If the Ardent Sensor supports don't get through, kog'maw, for example, is kind of just screwed over. He kind of is in the Jinx boat a little bit. Without Flash, if he gets overextended or even just caught by something, he's dead. There's no safety enough in his kit by itself that will save him. His weakness is kind of still there. However, Ardent Sensor support kind of covers that. His lane phase is a bit better now, and he's also going a Rage Blade build, which lets him spike a bit earlier. You combine that with things like Barrier, Relic Shield, getting the heal on the Ardent Sensor support, who then will have a stronger heal because they also have the Ardent Sensor, but like Storm Raiders, my bad, Wind Speakers. Like, it just makes it a lot harder than to kill these things early, like what their weakness was supposed to be. Say back in Season 5. In Season 5, when the Joker Maul and just hypercarries came back in, you used to be able to at least ban out those kind of champions, and then that champion became risky to play. And if you really wanted to be well on them, you had to have skill in terms of positioning and making sure you rotated right and being in the right places and not being caught out, right? Like, these champions are considered brain dead by some because they right click. Well, that's because their skill doesn't come from the mechanics of the champion, but more so the macro and the rotations and the positioning of the champion in team fights and stuff. But right now, those Ardent Sensor champions kind of just keep those champions so safe that they don't actually have to do that anymore. Unless, of course, you're Jinx, apparently. Which really sucks for me, because I am a Jinx player. So that I hate that this meta actually benefits her, and she's still actually not good enough to be a part of it. That sucks. But anyway, getting back to now Tristana. Why Tristana is more of a glaring problem than all of the other hypercarries is because even if you ban out those Ardent Sensor champions, Tristana is too safe even without Flash, and for a late game champion, actually spikes, in my opinion, by level 6 in the early game. So honestly, if you want to shut Tristana down, you have to gank her like level 2. And honestly, no one expects anybody in, like, especially solo queue, to be able to be good at that depending on the elo you're in. And even in Diamond, that's a really like hard expectation to set for your jungler. Like, hey, we're already 3 minutes in the game, you haven't ganked Tristana yet, it's too late, it's over. And what I mean by safe is that her jump is way further range than a Lucian dash or a Caitlyn net gun or an Ezreal arcane shift. Like, she could probably jump over those guys while they're using those moves. It lets her be really, really safe without Flash pre-6, and then post-6, she then gets a knockaway with her ultimate. So now, even if she used the rocket jump to go in on a bot lane dive, let's say the 2v2 was going her way, she goes in on it aggressively, enemy jungler comes to gank, and she doesn't have flash, she still has the ability to knock the enemy jungler away. Heck, Vi is something I love playing into hyper carries, because if we get their flash and I repeat gank with my ultimate, it usually means we get a guaranteed kill, or at least a lot of damage and poke them down. But Tristana can even knock Vi away. So it's just like, what are you really supposed to do against this champion besides the thing you do against every champion, which is just CC them to death, right? There's supposed to be more you can do against the hypercarry classes of champion and every role, but we're talking about the AD carry role specifically because a lot of these champions right now, it's really hard to shut them down early with the weaknesses they're supposed to have. And part of the blame, you might be able to make an argument, is there's not a lot of good early game AD carries to punish these champions in lane, or even if there is, Ardent Censor's too strong that if you don't ban those champions and they get through, you're not going to be able to bully these champions. Like in Korea right now, they actually love playing Draven into a lot of these hyper carries, and then if the Ardent Censor support gets banned, Draven will just body them. But in the pro scene, I don't really see Draven really becoming a factor, so then what else is there? You just have to waste bans on these Ardent Censor supports, which is quite a bit of them, right? You get 5 bans now in pro play, but there's probably more than 5 champions that, if you really tried, can make use of Ardent Censor in some way or another. You have Taric, you have Janna, you have Lulu, you have Soraka, you have Sona, you have Rakan, you even have Morgana at one point. You can try and make the argument you have the Black Shield on a kog'maw and let him frontline a bit aggressively. Like, there's just a lot going for a lot of these champions, and Tristana amplifies that because she's too safe. She does damage, a lot of damage, a bit too early. She's kind of her own kill lane at level 6, even without a Thresh or a Blitzcrank or an aggressive support, and as such, it just makes it really difficult to deal with her. When you combine all that with the fact that if you time her jump correctly, you can deny a bunch of CC. So even the whole CCing her to death thing isn't even there anymore, because then she can like buffer CC and cancel it and still get away. It's just like, well, what the heck, right? A Jinx, for example, like mentioned in the clip, is a not safer version of Tristana. Jinx, in that same scenario, you get her with some CC, she's dead. She doesn't rocket jump away on her own. And I'm biased, so even if Jinx did have a glaring problem, I'll probably ignore it, but I'll sympathize for a second, right? All Jinx has to do to get her resets going is not even get a kill herself. She just has to get an assist, right? But for me, why I say that's kind of more fair is because it does have to be a kill, right? It's not you shot somebody with 3 rockets, popped a charge, and now get to reset your reset. No, you have to actually be successful in some way to be able to activate that. Or your kog'maw, meanwhile, who, to use his passive, you actually have to be doing rather badly. So he kind of only has 4 abilities total if he wants to be successful, or if he's being successful in this game. That's not a shot at kog'maw's passive, but that is totally a shot at kog'maw's passive. So Tristana, the TLDR thing is she's too safe without flash, her jump is too long of a range, she has a knockaway that also helps her be even more safe without flash, and even if the jump's on cooldown, she does too much damage early versus even other hyper carries who, even if they're safer now because of Ardent Censor supports, they're not their own kill lane at level 6, right? Like if a Twitch or Jinx or something wanted to kill you at level 6, they probably have a Thresh with them, right? Or something like that. No, Tristana can jump in on you and just burst you down by herself, which then comes to the final point that I want to make. She has a lot of range for a character who's designed now to jump in and try and pop you at close range. And then if she really kind of jumped in and didn't want you at close range, could still knock you away. Her range should probably be shorter than for the things she's allowed to do and for the safetiness that she has, right? You look at a champion like Vayne. Vayne can do a lot of what some people will say is BS, but Vayne is extremely short range and reply. The Lucian nurse, right? Lucian was a really great duelist, so they decided, well, if you're going to be that great of a duelist, you should be shorter range.
Am I boned? 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 I'm boned, aren't I? Okay. I might be boned. I might be boned. I might be boned. I'm probably boned. Hi. I'm boned. I'm so boned. I'm boned. He's gonna kill me. He's gonna kill me.
Tristana, in my opinion, is in the same boat. Her range should probably be shorter if she's going to be able to get away with all the stuff that she gets to get away with, combined with her safety, combined with how hard the window is then to shut her down, versus even other hypercarries in this meta right now who could at least maybe try and ban out Ardent Censor supports. Tristana could be just as successful without an Ardent Censor support. She could be just as successful with a Braum, with a Thresh, with a Blitzcrank even, who a lot of AD carry players actually don't want to play with because they might hook the wrong person to you. They might Skarner ult the Volibear back to your face and get you killed. Like, you maybe don't want Blitzcrank, but Tristana might want Blitzcrank because now it just makes it easier to pop her point and click E onto them, stack attack speed with a built-in attack speed steroid on her Q, and then get a reset on her jump if she jumped in already. And there's a lot of things there, and this video is already too long, and so if you watched it this far, I thank you. I wanted to make this video shorter, but I just couldn't. There's a lot of things about Tristana, more so than even other hypercarries, which hypercarries right now are a pain point in League of Legends, so that just emphasizes how much more of a problem Tristana even is right now. And it's mainly that, right? Like again, with Twitch, kog'maw, Jinx, all those, if you ban out Janna, Lulu, and they don't have flash, they're probably dead. They better have perfect positioning, because you can then dive them with stuff like Jarvan, Vi, etc. and get them killed, right? It's kind of like assassins right now. I want to talk about assassins real quick, because when the tank meta is a thing, it's why hypercarries become a thing. They're the class designed to kill tanks. I never believed in the whole tank should 1v1 AD carries. Like, you drafted AD carries so they could eventually build Last Whisper, so they could eventually kill tanks. I don't think it should be the other way around. But assassins get screwed over because there's usually a lot of CC in the game. And honestly, against a hypercarry, which should have a lot of weaknesses, assassins should be one of the best classes to kill these hypercarries, and previous metas that would be the case, or if it wasn't the case, you would just, coordinate with the assassin player and play the game a bit differently. I've brought this example up before. I played 2 games where I had a Zed mid back-to-back. In the first game, they hated the fact that we try and focus the tank down because the tank was a pain point for the assassin, CCing them to death, and that game didn't go so well for us. In the second game, we made a plan with the Zed that, hey, we're purposely going to focus the tank. I'm literally a champion designed to focus down and gun down tanks, and when he agreed to that, and when we would do that, suddenly Zed was free because they lacked CC otherwise to go assassinate the back line, and he snowballed and we won the game. So assassins are kind of screwed right now because these champions that they should be able to kill, even with tanks in the game, they now absolutely can't kill because, Ardent Sensor is a thing. So yes, you could actually make the argument that hypercarries and Ardent Sensor supports, the combination is really, really bad right now. I think that goes without saying. But then where do you go from there, I guess, is the answer. When even other classes that are designed to be the weaknesses for another class can't really be successful. Unfortunately, when it comes to pro play, they're going to be playing on Worlds on patch 7.18 for the whole time, so we won't know there, right? We just have to kind of just watch the rest of Worlds for as it is what it is. Beyond that, though, there apparently are a lot of nerfs to Ardent Sensor coming. I don't even think you need to buff assassins in that matter. And I'm not saying that as an AD carry player. I actually unironically do love Zed. I will say that, and people hate me for that, but I do actually think Zed is one of the most balanced assassins to play against. Broken game. Unless he's like actually stupid strong, but he hasn't been stupid strong in my opinion for a while. But if you can't buff assassins because the problem won't change, hopefully the Ardent Sensor changes will change that. And as such, these champions won't feel so problematic to play against because Ardent Sensor won't be as strong as them. Maybe that means the earlier game where you're supposed to be able to shut them down is a bit more exposed. And of course, with the new runes and masteries and the priestess coming up, everything might be actually OP. So who knows? This might actually just send the game on its head. Who absolutely knows? Except you, maybe, because that's the part in the video now. We're in the comment section down below. Feel free to add your opinion, because I kind of quote-unquote ranted about Tristana and hypercarries in this video, but I want to know your opinion and what you think about this matter. Do you actually not mind so much Ardent Sensor supports and hypercarries? Do you think everybody's kind of blowing it out of proportion? Do you think it's blown into proper proportion? Do you think Tristana has just too much safety and things she can do early despite being a late game carry versus other late game carries in the role? Just things like that. So in the comment section below, feel free to talk about that. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to this video if you so desire as well. But I thank you for watching this video because this is extremely long. I apologize. I'm going to try and trim it down if I can. Most likely not, because a lot of this information that I'm saying is something that kind of needs to be explained. There's a lot more I could go over too, but I'm going to stop the video here to avoid this being like a 20+ minute video. So, I don't know which video will be next, because life be quite a mess. So until this time, take care. From the Fire Go Die, FS, thank you for watching.